Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a habit that, let's be honest, we all know a little too well: procrastination. We're going to use a really simple story about a kid and his homework to break down this universal equation that explains why we put things off and what the real price is for saying, I'll do it later.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the problem itself, then we'll track that cycle of avoidance that always seems to follow. Next, we'll see how it all leads to that moment of reckoning where we're forced to pay the price. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with what we're calling the procrastination equation. So let's jump right in and meet our case study for today. He's a young boy named Shivam, and his story, well, it's the perfect example of what happens when later stops being an option and starts becoming a habit. You know, at its heart, procrastination isn't just about being lazy. It's really a trade-off, right? We're consciously swapping our long-term responsibilities for just a little bit of short-term comfort. It's that choice to feel good right now, even though we know deep down it's going to make us feel way worse later on. So this is Shivam. He's 8 years old, loves to play, and for him, homework has one simple rule: I'll do it tomorrow. And come on, we've all been there. We all believe that our future self is somehow going to be this super motivated person with all the time in the world to do the things we're avoiding today. Okay, so what happens when tomorrow finally shows up? You know, when that hard deadline is staring you right in the face? Well, a really predictable pattern starts to emerge. And that little hole of avoidance you've been digging, it just gets deeper and deeper. And boom, there it is. The announcement. 3 different notebooks, all due tomorrow. All of a sudden, you've got this massive, unavoidable conflict. Shivam's huge pile of unfinished work is about to be put on blast. That do it later strategy, yeah, it just hit a brick wall. So instead of just facing the music and doing the work, he doubles down on avoiding it. He uses the exact same excuse day after day. You can see the pattern here, right? This isn't a real strategy. It's just a loop, and it's completely unsustainable. And here's the really crucial part. His avoidance doesn't solve a thing. In fact, it just makes everything worse. He gets kind of lucky that the teacher keeps running out of time, which forces him to keep the lie going, and the pressure just keeps building every single day. So naturally, this whole thing builds to a breaking point, you know? That moment when reality can't be pushed off any longer, and all your excuses just run out. After a few days of the same old excuse, his mom sees right through it. She totally calls his bluff and gives him an ultimatum. Suddenly, the choice isn't his anymore. Some outside force has just stepped in and shattered that cycle of avoidance. And just like that, the bubble bursts. That comfy little feeling of avoidance, it's gone. Now he's forced into a head-on collision with the very problem he's been running from all week. Back at school, he tries one last desperate move. The old, I forgot my notebooks excuse, but it's way too late for that. The deadline is now solid, it's final, and there is absolutely no getting out of it. And this is where we see what the true cost of delay really is. See, procrastination doesn't actually make the work go away. All it does is compress or crush the amount of time you have to do it. Yep. The bill has come due. Shivam is now staring down this absolutely monstrous task, doing 3 subjects worth of homework in one single panicked night. This lays out the trade-off he made so perfectly, doesn't it? He swapped these small, easy, manageable tasks that were spread out over weeks for one huge, overwhelming, stressful night. He literally traded days of fun for one single night of pure panic. And the cost wasn't just his time. It was physical. He was up all night just writing and finally finished in the morning completely wiped out. The price for all that delay was paid with his own health and his own energy. So after all that, what is the big takeaway from Shivam's all-nighter? What's the universal lesson we can pull from his experience? His teacher really just hits the nail on the head. Procrastination is basically like a debt. It doesn't disappear, it just sits there collecting interest in the form of stress and pressure and a bigger and bigger overload. So it really breaks down into this simple, totally predictable formula. Step 1, you get a task, and it creates a little bit of discomfort. Step 2, you delay it, just to get that little hit of immediate relief. But then, step 3, while you're feeling good, this background stress starts to build up. That's the interest on your work debt. And finally, step 4, you're forced to do the original task anyway, but now with all this added panic and pressure on top. And if you remember one thing from all this, it should be this: the work itself doesn't change. The only thing procrastination changes are the conditions you have to do it under. You're trading a calm, controlled environment for a frantic, stressful one, every single time.
Which really brings us to a powerful question to ask ourselves. Shivam paid off his debt in one miserable night. But what about us? What work set are we rocking up right now? And is that little bit of comfort we get from delaying, is it really worth the price we know we're going to have to pay eventually?